Hello, everyone. This is your host, Debra Poneman, and I welcome all of you to our call with today's guest, Morgana Rae, who will be speaking to us on how to make money fall in love with you. Morgana Rae is an internationally acclaimed life coach, author, transformational speaker, and is regarded as the world's top relationship with money expert. Her groundbreaking programs for attracting wealth has landed her on ABC TV, PBS, NPR, United Press International, and even the Wall Street Journal. She was named a top woman in e-commerce by We Magazine in 2012 and wrote the Life Magic column for a national women's magazine. Morgana has been a featured expert alongside leaders like Deepak Chopra, Marianne, Williamson, John Gray, John Assaraf, and Harv, Eker, and many more. I know that to be true. Her books, CDs, magazine articles, and classes have impacted the lives of hundreds of thousands of people worldwide because she writes, speaks, and coaches from a true desire to empower entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, artists, really anyone who is ready so that they can have a big impact in the world. And she is also here to help us all heal the rift between heart, spirit, and money. And today, Morgana will share with us how to uncover our hidden blocks to abundance, and she says they are not what we think, to abolish our financial anxiety. She's going to share a new way of relating to money that is radically different from anything we've heard before, a new way to ask for more wealth and actually receive it, and a way to become irresistibly attractive to money, and really not only to money, but to love, so that we take a quantum step in creating the wealth and abundant relationships that we deserve. So Morgana, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the call.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Believe me, I'm really excited about the upcoming hour.
Well, I am too, and before I launch into my numerous questions, I would love to hear about your journey from where you began to being the acclaimed coach and leader you are today. And I have to say that I love the title you have under your signature in your email correspondence where it says Charmed Life Coach and Money Goddess. That is so descriptive of who you are. So tell us how you got there.
Well, it's really funny because I am so grateful for the life that I live. I'm so incredibly aware of how fortunate I am in terms of my economics, that my business is so robust and I'm living well and I'm living in my dream house and I'm surrounded by these amazing relationships and I travel the world and one of the most exciting things about my life is this year, a dear friend of mine who 20 years ago gave me my cat called me, and she was about to lose her farm. She has this animal rescue farm in upstate New York, and my life is so abundant now that I didn't even have to think twice about wiring her the money to save her farm. It felt so good to be able to do that, and that's what my life is like now, which is so wild to me and surreal, and I'm so grateful because this is not the way it's always been. In fact, 10 years ago, I was struggling to make $100 a month. I was struggling to hold on to one half of one client to make $100 a month, and this was after I already had the fancy schmancy expensive coaching certification that took me a year of flying out of town every weekend and to coach hundreds of hours of clients. And I already had the expensive Ivy League education and all that kind of stuff. I was always really good at making things happen as if by magic. That's why I named my company Charmed Life Coaching. because I've always had that talent that things just sort of happen rapidly when I would coach somebody. So I had this reputation. I was known. I had results. People wanted to work with me. The only thing that I could not do, and I was trying my hardest, is I could not make money. And I was taking the business classes. This was 10 years ago, and I had the website, and I had the brochures and the business cards, and I was going to those expensive networking meetings with the really bad lunches full of all sorts of other frightened entrepreneurs who wanted to get clients. And it was like I had a superhuman power to repel money. Because even then, I kind of knew it didn't make sense. Because I saw other people getting clients. And by the way, I discovered during this time that I'm perfectly capable of feeling superior and inferior at the same time, because I thought I was a better coach than those other coaches. But I was making no money, so I also felt like the biggest loser in the world. And I could not get to the bottom of it because I kind of was good at marketing and I was good at positioning myself. I just wasn't good at getting paid. At one point, I even took a class in overcoming sales objections. And my reward for that, because I was always taking classes, I was flying back up to Northern California to take relationship coaching classes, thinking that then maybe I'd feel okay letting people pay me. You know, that was really kind of where I was. I took the class in overcoming sales objections, and my reward was 7 people in a row said they wanted to hire me, and none of them showed up, and none of them paid. And here I had been studying coaching. I had actually helped quite a number of people. I had done everything I was supposed to do, even though I was only making $100 a month, which did not even come close to covering my rent. I was still employing a coach. I was doing everything I was told would work, and none of it was working. And come on, I was told since childhood that if I went to college and got good grades, I'd be able to make a living. Lie, all lies. And my heart broke. I was so hurt and angry, and I felt so betrayed. I was so angry at the universe. I felt so hated by the universe that I wanted to die. It seemed the cruelest joke in the world that I finally knew what I was here to do and what I was good at and what I wanted to do with my life, and I couldn't make a living at it. Seemed like, as I said, just a cruel joke. And I remember pulling the curtains in my bedroom and sitting on my bed and crying my heart out. It was so painful, so frightening. I had tried everything. My coaches had no idea what was wrong because I was such a good student. I was hit by a car and thrown in a coma when I was 16 and still graduated with honors and went to an Ivy League school. I'm a good student. I do what I'm told, and none of it worked. I had the millionaire mindset. I had the world's prettiest vision board and big frickin' deal. I was making $100 a month, and I didn't even know how long that would last. And it was in that pit of despair and hopelessness that I heard this voice in the back of my head that money had to be my next area of spiritual growth. Because I'm from Southern California and spirituality is easy for us here. You know, I'm very comfortable being spiritual, very comfortable helping people, very comfortable healing people. I was not comfortable taking money for it. And I also was aware that there was something in me that was somehow pushing money away, and I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to find out. And it was at this moment, on my next call with my coach, thank goodness, he had a moment of inspiration, and he asked me 2 questions that changed my life and were the beginning of what I teach today, because the effect on my life was so profound. It's what you see today. And he asked me, Morgana, what happened with money growing up? Because he didn't know. He could not figure out why I wasn't making any money. So on a hunch, he asked me what happened with money growing up. And I know you, Debra, you have worked on yourself so well for so many decades, and you're like me, committed to personal development, to not being a victim, taking responsibility for your life, and that's me too. So I had conveniently suppressed and not thought about for about 20 years some really big things that happened when I was a kid. An enormous stolen inheritance, and also a stolen college trust fund. And I was 12 and 14 when these 2 things happened, and the people involved were very, very close family members who I loved, and still love. One of them I took my first steps to. And it was very confusing because I was hearing all sorts of different stories from different people, and I made the healthiest, best decision I could make. And it's the decision I would make again. I chose love. I didn't know what was going on with, these conflicting stories. I didn't want to take sides. There wasn't really anything I could do anyway. And fortunately, when you're 12 or 14, hopefully you aren't paying your own bills anyway. So I just decided to love everybody involved and decided it was just between the grown-ups and not pay attention to it. I didn't realize at the time that I was learning that money got in the way of love. And if I ever have to decide between money and love, I choose love because that's how I'm built. So I was poor because I was choosing love. And I was in a world where money got in the way of love. There were other things, but that was really the core of it. And it really had more to do with relationship than it did to do with money. And that's, by the way, a really key secret, is that the blocks to money are never really, really about money. It's what money represents. Money is it's so useful here because money represents our worth and our lovability and our safety. So we get to dig down and uncover all that stuff in the service of transforming your relationship with money. And the added benefit is that when we change your relationship with money, we change a lot of other stuff too without even trying, which is really nice. But I'm jumping way ahead of myself, aren't I, Debra? So let me go into the second question that my coach asked me that changed my life, which was, if your money was a person, who would your money be? Now, given the hurt and heartbreak and betrayal that went on in the name of money, my money was not a very nice person. In fact, the person that popped up into my mind's eye instantaneously was this big, scary, dirty, violent biker. And I could feel the terror in my body. I could feel how I wanted to keep distance between myself and the biker. In fact, I imagined if I were at a party, I would have my eye on him the whole time to create maximum distance between us. And in that moment, I realized that's what I was doing with money. Even though I was taking every class in the world to learn how to make money, even though I had coaches, even though I was working so hard to get clients and build a business, it didn't matter. consciously, I thought I wanted to make money, but unconsciously, I knew I had to protect myself from it. And your unconscious mind always wins 100% of the time. And it wasn't until I made money a person that it all made sense. I was so scared of this guy, and I knew that as long as that was my money, I had no hope of ever having money in my life. So I had to end that relationship and get rid of the biker, because that was the only way that I could change my relationship with money. And I did. And I'll teach you more about that as I teach you my process. But I will say that the next day after I changed my relationship with money, 4 people called me out of the blue. I wasn't doing anything differently, but 4 people called me out of the blue and wanted to hire me at twice what I'd ever charged before. And it was so interesting because for so many years, I had been pushing money away. It was like I had this cell memory that wanted to do what I'd always done. I could feel my mouth wanting to talk them out of it in ways I never knew I was doing before. Wanting to give them a sample session or justify my price and all this kind of stuff. They'd already decided, and I was so aware of how uncomfortable it was for me to say something that I'd never said before in my life, which was, great, here's my fee. When do you want to begin? And I'm being really, really transparent here to just let you know that the odds are I was probably many, many, many times more lame and bad at, like poster child for failed, holistic practitioner, business person. Just so that you know that wherever you are, take a look at me with the big L on my forehead. That's where I came from. And where I used to make $100 a month, now I make $100,000 in a month. Doing what I love. Making the world a better place for a lot of other people, because my passion is empowerment and bringing more love to the world. And that's what I get to do. And that's what I want to help you with on this call.
What a fantastic, fantastic story. And what is the best part about it is that so many of our listeners are where you were, especially in terms of asking for what we're worth. When you said, here's my fee, when do you want to begin? Probably half of us cringed just hearing those words, and yet you were able to become that. So can you give us some steps? I know you say that what you teach is how to make money fall in love with you.
Yes, Deborah, I'll do that. I'll give you some steps so that you can not only feel really, really wonderful telling people how they can work with you, but they can feel really, really wonderful investing in themselves with you. One of my favorite discoveries is that people love to give me money. They love to give me money because I add value to their lives. And that's really what it's all about. Everybody on this call should be able to say that too. Because I know the people on this call, given the crowd that you attract, are going to be a bunch of really kind, heart-centered do-gooders. And those are the people I want to talk to. So, yeah. Shall I get into content?
Please do. Well, you've given us a ton already, whether you know it or not. But
I've actually been already teaching the process, but I've been sort of sneaky about it. I kind of gave away the first half of the process, but because I want everybody on the call to have a breakthrough, I'm going to break it down into steps.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the first step is root cause. And here's what I've learned beyond a shadow of a doubt over the course of my own life and coaching thousands of people. And I've learned more from coaching others than anything else. None of this came out of a book. It all came out of just direct experience. This is what I know. If you have been working really, really hard and doing everybody else's stuff and you still aren't getting results and you're doing everything right and all that, there's a very good reason. That you have very good reasons to protect yourself. I really believe it's not an accident. As I said, our results come from the unconscious, and we come up with these beliefs that keep us alive and really, really serve us at some point in our life, and then can kill us if we don't address them. And I am using very strong language, but I believe this to be true. So if you are not making as much money as you want to or need to, or you make money and then you lose it, or maybe you do get to make money, but you don't get to make money doing what you love, or in some cases you make a lot of money and then people are all after your money and all that kind of stuff, you have a pathological relationship with money, and that is the root cause of your problems, is this invisible relationship with money. It's not what you're aware of, because, you've done the work on yourself, and if you aren't seeing the results, again, it's not your fault. But with the awareness that I'm giving you, it is your responsibility to take care of it. So when I talk about root causes, when I'm working with a client, and I'm going to give you all the secrets I can in the time we have together. I understand that it's impossible for me to teach you everything I've learned in 10 years in 60 minutes, and I will give you an opportunity to get more later in the call. But right now, I don't want to hold anything back. So when I'm coaching a client, I may start with a question like, what are some of the negative things that you've seen, heard, or experienced about money? And what's important about this question is I'm focusing only on the negative. I do not call this process law of attraction, although law of attraction people are probably my best customers. I call this alchemy. Alchemy is the transmutation of leaden human experience into spiritual gold. And the first step of alchemy, which goes back 20,000 some odd years to ancient Egypt, the first step is nigredio, the blackening. So what we're doing is we want to separate the negative stuff about money from the positive. So we are going to actually focus on the negative in the beginning, which can be really uncomfortable to people who have trained ourselves to stay positive. You need to go into the negative because it creates the dynamic, it creates the tension and the energy to get you over to the other side. Otherwise, nothing changes. Everything's neutral, nothing changes. We need to create polarity. So I will start by asking about the negative stuff, and it may not even be stuff you've experienced. It may be things that you've seen in the world that are unfair. But what I'm really digging for is the stuff that has nothing to do with money. Perhaps for some of you, you were not loved by your parents or protected by your parents the way you should have been. Or you were hurt by kids at school, or a life partner or a business partner, or you got sick or had an accident or anything. I am listening for where the pain is, because wherever the pain is, that's where we're going to find your monster. And the monster is step number 2, is personifying money. And this is really, really important. And I could not believe that nobody else was doing this back in 2003. I looked everywhere and nobody was doing this. And it was really shocking to me, but it's necessary. A lot of teachers, a lot of great teachers talk about relationship with money. And they'll talk about money in the abstract. They'll talk about money as energy. They'll talk about money as an exchange of value. Deepak Chopra talks about money as a divine field of abundance. And all of that may be true. And it's useless when you're talking about relationship. I don't know how to have a relationship with the divine field of abundance or how to change that relationship because I've never had that kind of relationship before. Human beings know how to have relationships with other human beings. That's why we make our dogs and our cats people. Correction, they are people. That's why we make our cars and our boats and our countries and things people, because we know how to have relationships with people. So when you make money a person, you get a lot of value for that. A lot of things come to the surface that you didn't know when you were just talking about ideas. It suddenly becomes real. You feel it in your body. And we know how to break up with people. So we know how to end a relationship with a person, which is why you need to make your monster a person. Do not make your monster a dark cloud or a fiery pit or a big rock, all of which have come up over, the thousands of people I've coached, or a ghost, because it's very hard to really get rid of that stuff. You want it to have real flesh and blood, because then it's all in one place. And what you want to do with the monster is just collect all the negativity you can, put it in that person, because then when you get rid of him, you get rid of more than just your money monster. You're also getting rid of all your unworthiness. You're getting rid of a lifetime of hurt. You're getting rid of, in some cases, diseases. My client, Jocelyn Zale, and I'm not breaking confidentiality, she's totally okay with me sharing the story, and she's been on video talking about it. She had a life-threatening eating disorder. She had 5'10", she had dropped down to 90 pounds, and then she had ballooned to 180 pounds within 5 months. And the doctors said that she should be dead based on her vital signs. And for 12 years, she tried EFT, she tried hypnosis, she tried everything. Therapy could not get over the eating disorder, could not stop killing herself. And in one session, I changed her relationship with money, knowing before I coached her that wasn't the real problem. That wasn't the real monster, the real hurt. But while I had her looking over here at her money monster, I was actually really addressing her relationship with her body and using that. And on the other end, when we got rid of her money monster and changed her relationship with money, her relationship with her body changed. Her eating disorder went away for good, and it's been 2 years. She also discovered a life purpose, which is to help other women love their women's bodies, which has become a very successful and lucrative business for her because she has the credibility and the sensitivity and the talent to be able to help women in that pain. So first 3 steps: uncover the root cause, personify your money monster, get rid of the money monster completely. And then we have the fun part. And yes, there is a fun part. We are not going to stay with the monster because the monster's gone, which, by the way, should feel weird. It should feel like nothing you've ever experienced before. And I'm going to go back to my story, if that's okay, Deborah, to give you an example.
How you got rid of your money monster?
Well, how I got rid of my money monster is not really how I'd recommend. I didn't have a coach for this who, it was sort of accidental. So I never was able to go as deep as now I know how to help other people go. I was lucky, and it actually took me a few years and coaching a few hundred people to really perfect the process. So I just broke up with mine, and he went away. Now I recommend, now monsters are so much bigger and badder, I just say, whatever means necessary, lightsaber, flamethrower, monster truck, whatever, So how I got rid of the money monster isn't as important as that I did. And when I did, I knew it. This is really, really important, is I felt like there was a big gap. The monster had been with me my whole life, and now he was gone. And it felt weird, and it felt empty. And I also knew that I needed to fill that space where the monster would come back. because nature abhors a vacuum. And there was a big vacuum right there in my relationship with money. I had just rejected and broken up with the only money I ever had, right? So I had to improvise really, really quickly. And I thought to myself, well, who could I want in my life so much that I would want him even though he's money? This is a really important question. Not because he's money. Because if you've ever been in a bad relationship of any kind, you don't want to repeat that right away. You don't want to jump back into that. So I just really wanted a relationship that was safe enough and wonderful enough that I could have that person in my life, because it was my only chance of being able to accept money into my life. And why this is so important is what you're hearing is that this process that I'm talking about is not really about money. The results, the financial results, can be really ridiculous and rapid. I remember when I coached Elliot Malik, he received a check for $87,000 6 hours after we did the process, and he did what his new money told him to do. And a few weeks ago, Caroline Conness, very similar story. In under 12 hours after doing the process, she received $86,000. I know those are really big dollar amounts. It doesn't have to be that big. Laura Kane made $10,000 in new clients within 48 hours of our changing her relationship with money. I think her new money, honey, looked like Viggo Mortensen. And I have really hundreds of these stories. You and I, Deborah, before this interview, I was telling you that I got this phone call on my home phone from this woman named Maria in I think Vermont. And my reaction was, oh my God, how did this woman get my home phone number? How do I get her off my phone, right? But before I got all rude and got her off my phone, she told me that she had just gotten a raise for $4,000. And it was the first raise that she had received in over 4.5 years. And it was because she got rid of her monster. And she's telling me all about her monster and how horrible and scary he was and how she got rid of him. And then she replaced him with her money honey. And she's telling me all about her money honey and how romantic he is and how in love they are and how odd it is that he wears all purple, but he does. And this is, of course, all imaginary, but it's real to her. And that's how I knew that the change was happening. And because her money honey thought she was, so wonderful and loved her so much, he wanted her to go and ask for a raise. And the most she thought they would get, come on, hello, recession. She's a school teacher. Nobody's getting raises. People are getting laid off. Her money honey wants her to ask for a raise. She thought the most she could possibly get is $2,000, if anything. So the next day she asked for a raise. Her superior asked her how much. She got really gutsy and asked for $5,000 and was told, that we can't give you that, but we can give you $4,000. And so within 2 days, she had a $4,000 raise, and I'm just so lucky that she got me on the phone to hear that. So anyway, back to now we're on step number 4, which is the complete opposite of your money monster, which is why we want your money monster to be really, really bad, because the more terrible and powerful your monster is, the more wonderful and powerful your money honey is, because it's the opposite. And we want your money honey to, well, how do you know you have your money honey? You just want to meet him. It should feel like he's been there your whole life or like she's been there your whole life. I apologize, right? I've been talking as if everybody on the call is a heterosexual female, and that's not the case. So, guys, if you like girls, your money honey is going to be a woman who you can love, who is attractive to you on the deepest levels. And if you're gay or lesbian or transgender, you just choose the gender that makes your heart beat quickly and makes your breath catch, and know that you are loved and cherished and that your money, honey, is just as in love with you. No matter how old you are, how fat or thin or tall or short, doesn't matter. You are the person your money, honey, chooses. And I want you to see yourself through that, through your money, honey's eyes. And suddenly those curves that you didn't like are going to look really hot. And so what happens is this new relationship with your money, honey, changes how you feel about yourself and the world. And the fear goes away. And you can actually just sit down on the couch next to your imaginary friend, your money, honey, and take a look at your situation, whatever it is, no matter how bad it is, and take a look at it through different eyes and find out what you should do. So back to my story, I was like, oh my God, who could I want in my life so much that I'd want this person even though it's money? And fortunately, out of my hyperactive imagination popped up this tall, dark, handsome young man, very, very safe, very clean cut, in a tuxedo, carrying a bouquet of red flowers, who wanted to woo me. And I could feel that he had been there for a very, very long time, trying to be with me. But while I was in a relationship with the monster, I was pushing my money, honey, away. This is true for all of us. You cannot have access to your money, honey, when you've got a monster. If you can't hear your money, honey, check to make sure that your monster is gone, that you got all of it. Or maybe you've got a little monster left or a new little monster. But it's like the bed's just not big enough for the three of you. So the first place I look is make sure the monster is gone. And make sure that your money, honey, feels real. So that's step number 4. Step number 5 is, now that you've got a money, honey, now there are some great things that you can do with a money, honey, that I don't see in other programs. Like, well, for one thing, you get to ask questions and you get to talk and you get to cuddle, albeit cuddling's a little difficult because he's not physically there, which brings up a concern that I hear all the time from my clients who are in relationships. So they're like, ooh, oh my God, I'm turned on. Uh-oh, I feel like I'm cheating. Which is great, because I've been doing this a very long time, and I've done this with a lot of people, and I have still never heard from anyone who successfully had physical sex with their money, honey, with their imaginary friend. But I have heard from a lot of marriages that were saved because the husband or wife I was coaching was suddenly lit up with feelings of love. And where are you going to express those erotic and romantic and joyful, generous feelings? Well, it's kind of convenient if you've got a romantic partner already in your life. And those who don't already have a romantic partner, I should put a warning on this process that it is a very, very common consequence of this work that you will attract a romantic partner. It's kind of typical. I know I'm talking about how to make money fall in love with you, but attractive people tend to be attracted to everything we want. You know, the world just cannot resist a man or a woman who's in love and feels loved. And it kind of changes all of your relationships because you've got your money honey who really believes in you, and you see yourself through your money honey's eyes, and you suddenly feel worthy of a really high quality relationship. So it heals a lot of stuff. So step number 5, for me, I meet this hot guy, my imaginary money honey. I feel how much he wants to be with me, and I suddenly get a sense of my power. This is really important. This is something to lean in for. You have the power in this relationship. You have the power in this relationship. And I asked my money honey, what do you need from me so you can stay with me the way you want to? And he told me. And he told me that he wanted me to love him and stop treating him like a monster. So I want to speak to the question going round for somebody there. If you're like me, right around now I'd be thinking, but isn't the love of money the root of all evil? And I really want to address that. I believe that love is never evil. Love is not exploitation. Love is not greed or avarice or cheating or stealing or harming others. Ever, ever, ever. Love is generous. Love is unconditional. Love brings out our best. Love is noble. So when I say love money, this is not conditional, what have you done for me lately, love. This is not contingent on how much money you have in your bank account. This is that this person, your money honey, is so sweet and so worthy of love that you are willing to love and trust your money honey because that's what he or she needs from you, or his or her heart will break. That's love. That's a very different kind of relationship than you had with your money monster. Your money honey is vulnerable. You really can break his heart. It gives you a lot of power. And the number one way to break your money's heart is to devalue yourself. Your money just doesn't understand that. When you give away your services for free to people who may be in your life for a short time, that you just doesn't understand when you disrespect yourself or when you allow people to disrespect yourself will break your money's heart. When I say my fee now, I'm thinking of what my money honey looks like now, which is Clive Owen, a British movie star that I've got a huge crush on. It's just one day I changed my relationship with money again, and this was what my money honey decided to look like. And so when I say this is my fee, that my clients pay me $48,000 a year, and I only work with 4 private clients a year, and I'm not looking for any. My subtext is, isn't he cute? Isn't he cute? It has nothing to do with me. This is just what he asked me to charge. It's like, okay, and my client said, all right. Oh, and Caroline Connis, the one who I mentioned her a little while back, she made $86,000 the next day. Let's move on because I'm not here trolling for clients. I'm just trying to here. So there's one last step, which is action. You must take action. It's not good enough to have good intentions or a pretty money honey. You have to actually do something to demonstrate to your money honey that the relationship has changed. Physical action. I don't want it to just be a great idea. I want you to actually do something. So I made a commitment to my money honey that the next time somebody wanted to hire me, I would appreciate the gift and I would not treat him like a monster. I would say thank you and I would let them hire me. I know that sounds crazy, but it was actually challenging for me because, remember 10 years ago, big L on my forehead. And it sounds like you wanted to ask a question, Debra. Please jump on in.
No, actually, I think that you have answered every one of the questions that we had from the beginning, and how to ask for more wealth and actually receive it and become irresistibly attractive to money. And all I could say is I appreciate that you have given us your entire system. The only thing that I would like to say is that because we are nearing the 45-minute mark, for those people who have to leave at the hour point, I would like to know how we can get more of you. And I know that you've put together a package, so I'd like for you to share it now, and then you could go back and give us some more of your brilliance. Do you mind sharing with us now?
Oh, I'm very, very excited about what I put together. I put together what I consider an absolutely irresistible package at a price point that should be accessible to anybody who wants it. I'm going to give you like a little bonus learning right now, which is every time you say, I can't afford it, you're feeding your monster. You're making money the bad guy. The only reason that I do this work around money is because money is the number one excuse for everything that we can't do or have or be. My work is really about love. And I'm blissful and happy that I ended up developing this system that works with money to create this whole life worth living. That also includes really, really tangible, financial, measurable results. So what I put together is my favorite and my most successful core products for starting the journey. Because as I said, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've done this thousands of times. The material has evolved. And what I say today is not what I was saying even 2 years ago. I learn new stuff. And so I keep having to update things. And I don't expect anybody listening to even be able to retain more than 20% of what you heard. You're just going to get the grand generalities. So I want to give you support. And this is the package that Tanya Jagar bought and did the process, and 3 hours later received a check that completely paid off all of her debts. And then I also received a series of emails from Cynthia Nash, just one after another, and they were so much fun, where she developed this money honey just based on the stuff that I'm going to share with you right now. Her money honey was telling her to dye her roots, put on some makeup, put on a skirt. She went out and she got her first $1,600 client, and she also won a lottery, So I want to give you the stuff to start from where we are today on this call, and then to be able to do it at your own pace and get support directly from me in the future, and to make it so ridiculously affordable that if you want it, you can have it. So the first thing is my ebook, which I coincidentally was reading today. And it's great, if I may say so, because I just revised it and updated it a few months ago. And it's really, really current. And it actually covers some stuff that I didn't say today. And it also includes the transcript of a live coaching demonstration, because I talked you through the steps, but you actually haven't seen what it looks like when somebody goes through the process. It's kind of quirky and weird, and you can see where I make adjustments and I get the client back on track so that you can actually have like a front row seat to this intimate journey. So first you get the ebook. That's also important because if you're like me, I learn better visually, so I needed to make sure there was something for visual learners. Over the years, I discovered, it took me long enough to figure this out, but I discovered that men and women are different. I know everybody's gasping, but it took a while to really get that. The 6 steps are the same, but it's also different. For instance, for women, our relationship with money is so intimately connected for most of us with our relationships with our body and our sexuality and love. We have deep pains and anxieties, and we have trouble asking for what we're worth, and we want to be liked more than we want to be paid half the time. So I created an audio class just for women, which means that I then had to get around to recording an audio class just for men, because I've coached a lot of men too. I mentioned Elliot. I didn't mention Tom. Tom, wow, he made $1.5 million 6 weeks after our first session. And he didn't even tell me. I found out because then he referred a friend who told me. Men, I don't know if it's more painful for men. Sometimes I think it is, because if a man doesn't have money, it's like he has no manhood. It's very hard for a man to date if he has no money. It's really tragic, and men's monsters are huge. So I wanted to record something just for men. And I also recommend women. It's really useful to listen to the class for men, and men, it's useful to listen to the class for women just so we understand each other, which is, a really important thing for me is people understanding each other better. And then, I didn't share the story about Katie. I usually do. Years ago, I was doing a live teleclass, and I was doing a coaching demonstration, and Katie Curtin was my brave volunteer. I had never met her before. I didn't know who she was, but I coached her on the spot in front of 1,000 strangers on this telephone call, having no idea how this was going to turn out, and got her through the whole process in a very short time. The process usually takes me 2.5 to 3 hours, and I think we got through the whole thing in about 22 minutes. And what you don't hear on the call is what happened afterwards. After we came up with her Money Honey, after we found out what her Money Honey wanted her to do, after she made a commitment to take the action her Money Honey wanted her to do, she put it off for a day and nothing happened. She put it off for another day and nothing happened. On the third day, she went out, she did what she told her Money Honey she would do. She came home, she got a phone call and $10,000 without even asking for it, which eventually grew to $20,000. And now she's living in Mexico with her son and her sweetheart and her Money Honey, living her dream. And I'm also throwing in a bonus, my limiting belief obliterator, which is not just about money because everything's connected. It's really hypnotic. Don't listen to it while driving. I just think it's so useful that I wanted to include it. But the very most important, valuable thing, my favorite thing that I'm including in this package is I've scheduled a live group coaching call, because I can give you everything I can think of in my products, and you will still have your own challenge and your own question. And I want to be able to answer your question. I want to be able to help you. I want to be able to make that adjustment. And there's also something weird that people have been calling the Morgana effect. I don't know what it is, but I do know that over and over again, I've talked to people even briefly, and shocking things have happened. Last year, I was speaking with an artist named Chris Galligan who hadn't been able to sell anything for months, and the next day, he had $100,000 in orders. So I created this call, and there's another Chris Clavio, was on a call just like this last year, where he showed up. He couldn't hear his Money Honey. I could tell immediately that what he was calling his Money Honey was just another money monster, but in a tight dress. And I made the adjustment that he needed. His Money Honey told him what she needed him to do, and he made $10,000 in 24 hours. He wrote all about it. It's posted on my website. So this group coaching call alone would, if I was selling it separately, would be valued at $1,000. This whole package together, my Limitless Abundance Breakthrough Package, would retail at $1,804.80 if you could buy all the things separately. And some of the things, like my coaching demonstration with Katie Curtin, I don't sell separately. You can only get it here. I am giving this all to you for only $99 because I feel so passionately about making a change in the world. I want to make this so easy for you And I also refuse to collude in this I can't afford it monster thing, So I'm making it really easy and accessible because I'm blessed. My life is incredibly abundant. I can afford to be generous, and this is what gives me joy.
So if this resonates with you, then all you have to do is click on the special offer button to learn more. I think this package is absolutely amazing.
Go to the page to see what other people have to say, because I posted emails from people who have done this process, and it has their photos and their real names and their stories. They were where you are now, and they did the process, and aren't you curious to read what happened for them? Because it's some of these stories are really wild and wonderful. So I would just go and take a look at that. And of course, I want you to join me on the 90-minute group coaching call, because I do truly want to serve you, and I want to see a lot more success stories so that next time I can do this, I can put you on this page.
Wow.
So if you haven't yet, go ahead and click on the special offer button on this page, and you will see for yourself what an amazing, amazing package this is. You are absolutely going to love it. I promise you.
Now, just experience it for yourself. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, because, as you say, it's not just the money that's going to flow into your life, like you have shared with us, has happened to so many people, but also love and all of the other wonderful, great things that we want, but we are keeping from ourselves. So this is just spectacular, and I have to thank you for your generosity, how much you've given to us, and how full this package is. Knowing how much you do charge for your private clients and knowing how much you've put into this package, I just have to personally thank you for your generosity.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I am so grateful for everything that I have, including this really sweet opportunity that you are giving me to reach out to more people. Thank you.
And before we sign off, because we are at the end of our hour, are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us before we go?
It was occurring to me when you were just speaking a moment ago that this work is really, really, really about choosing life. I received an email recently that just made me cry, because I had spoken to a woman about 2 years ago whose money honey said that she needed to stop smoking, that he couldn't be with her while she was killing herself. That's not the kind of thing that you would normally expect to hear, as financial advice. And that's why I never characterized myself as a financial advisor in any way. But what this work is really about is it really is a matter of life and death and choosing life. And so what I want for everybody on this call is to choose life. I know where the path of the money monster leads, and I want to obliterate that. So thank you.
That's it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, Morgana. This was fantastic, and I look forward to our next call together. Maybe I could get you to come back.
I think you could.
Oh, right. So thank you, and thank you to everyone for being with me and with Morgana Rae on your Life Without Limits. This is Debra Poneman. Have a fabulous rest of your day.